I'm really thrilled to be here in Portland today. This is great. I've had to do about 2 or 3 keynotes now in about 2 or 3 weeks. Was anybody at our SMX West show? So, oh good. I mean, or bad. The good part is some things I've talked about at some other keynotes will be in here. The difficulty is when you do a keynote, then you're not certain if everybody's already heard that before. Sometimes you have a different audience and they haven't heard any of it. So I've got some of those things here, but what we did is out on the SEM PDX blog, we asked for people to give some requests on what they wanted me to talk about. And so this is kind of the all request type of thing. So we suggested some topics, and that's what I put together for today's keynote, but I wanted to talk a little bit about Portland before I started off. So Kent lives, who really should be home with his wife, who's having a baby, but is still here. There was this quote in the Business Journal, and he remembered talking to me, and I kind of reacted apparently. He told me there were people in Portland. How many are from Portland? Like right here in Portland? And how many are from close enough that you would claim Portland to be your own? Okay. So I think everybody, basically, except for the 4 of you from Seattle that are hiding in the back saying, we like Portland too. So my reaction was fairly Port Ware. And I kept looking at it thinking, I don't think I said that. And I'm trying to remember why I would have had this terrible reaction because, well, not terrible reaction, but I mean, I'm from Southern California, and that's part of the West Coast. And in the future, when Washington State and Oregon and California all join up into one, nice little country on their own, we assume that Portland will be the nice neutral capital for everything and guiding us on our way. So we know where Portland is, and I knew where Portland was. So I think as I'm trying to remember, I think I was probably just surprised that there were so many people in Portland doing search marketing. Not that, oh, why would anybody be in Portland? At least that's what I think was my memory. And there are a lot of interesting hotbeds or places where maybe you wouldn't expect that there's a big search marketing community when it turns out there are. Bend is a close enough example here where there are a ton of people, especially the refugees from MMG back in the 95, 96 or so. Maine, who'd have thought there were a ton of people out in Maine that are doing search marketing, but there are. Ohio, Dallas, there are lots of other little places, or not big places as well, but just places that, I guess that's what's interesting about search marketing is it's not like, oh, it all happens in San Francisco, or it all happens in New York, or it all happens in Boston, that it's all over the place. So it's really great that you have such a thriving community here in Portland. And then I got this other eye-opener, and this is where the keynote will either suddenly go into a terrible, tragic plunge, and you'll hate me. But Amy, who was doing PR, said she wanted me to do a quote about talking here in Portland. And so she said, wondering why it's, you're coming out to this small town. I was like, I didn't know Portland was a small town. I thought you were a big, huge, major city. And so I guess I was wondering if there was an inferiority complex in Portland. Because if there is, you really shouldn't have one. And I think you only need to look around the room at how many people that are here to just think how wonderful you are to have such a strong community that's going on. It's just wonderful. It really is. So to kind of mock Stephen Colbert, you're like Seattle, Los Angeles, or San Francisco, Seattle, or see, it's kind of like because you're here and then they're there, whatever. You're just Portland. So anyway, so we'll go to the first request. First-time caller, long-time listener. No. So Laura Lepay had said this out on the thing, and you can read all that. Don't get mad at me if the slide is dense. That's what she wrote, so I couldn't edit her. But really, when we're doing SEO, but it's not just working on the site. We're having to do this social media stuff. We're having to do this link building. We're having to do all these different things. And is that all SEO? Do we need to have a new name when somebody says, I need to have an H1 tag shoved onto this thing? You're the SEO person, do it. So to answer that, I wanted to go back and re-stress, if you will, what I kind of call the SEM umbrella. And that, to me, as I define it, and you can define it however you want. I won't talk to you if you do differently. No, you can define it however you want, but this is what I started defining like back in 2001, which was the first time I heard people saying, hey, I'm doing this SEO stuff, but now there's all these other things, and I don't really know where SEO fits in with all this stuff. And I said, well, to me, SEO is that you're generating unpaid traffic from search, that somehow your job is to get the free stuff, if you will. Although it's not free, as you know, because it puts a lot of work out into making it happen. And that the paid search, or PPC, if you have to have an acronym, is that you're generating the paid traffic from search. You know, you're gonna get out the checkbook and go with it, or credit card. And that SEM, or search marketing, is the combination of both of these types of things. And that's sort of the umbrella that sits up on top of it. So when we talk about whether SEO, or if you will, SEM, have to be redefined, you know, those are, first of all, the very core definitions that I'm starting off with. And so if SEM sits on top of all this, well, what is search marketing? To me, if you're a search marketer, then what you do as your job is that you figure out the search tools that are most used by lots of people, or used often by a key audience you have. So you know that a lot of people search on Google, so you're working to make things happen so that you show up on Google. That's what a search marketer does. You also know perhaps people are looking for restaurants, and your job is to promote a restaurant, and you realize a lot of people are using Urban Spoon on the iPhone. That is a search, even if they just check the phone. And therefore, your job as a search marketer is to figure out what was making your restaurant come up or not come up when those little dials stop spinning. So how do they get their information? How do you increase the visibility? To a growing degree, how do you figure out that people are going to convert when they arrive? And a lot more is starting to roll into search marketing. So, in fact, there are things that it's absorbed. You know, your job used to be, we just got traffic from search. That was it. You know, you'd walk in, you'd meet the designer, you'd say, do these couple of things, and maybe I'll do some link building. And then it started to be, you know, link building, for example, is one thing that was a separate activity from search marketing. If you talk to somebody like Eric Ward in 1996, he wasn't a search marketer. He was just going out building links. And there are still people who specialize only in building links. But because links became so important to how well you do on search engines, suddenly it almost seemed like it became part of what you had to do as a search marketer. Social media has been growing and growing, and getting to that degree as well, where I think a lot of people are questioning, can I be successful in search marketing if I'm not able to leverage some of these other platforms that are out there? Conversion analysis. For a long time, I would have people saying, well, we want usability conferences. We want usability sessions at the conferences I was producing. And I was saying, I'm totally in on usability, but it's not a search marketing activity necessarily. It's like a web design, web analytics type of thing. But you realize over time that to be a good search marketer, you probably have to do some of the conversion and usability stuff that's out there, because if you don't understand if people are converting, then that may affect your quality score, say with Google on the paid side, or you're just not able to tap into the traffic as well as you're getting on the free side. So I think if you've been wondering, does SEO need to be rebranded, it may need to be that, and you're doing a lot of this stuff, that you need to make sure that those you're working with are understanding that you're an online marketer. Perhaps you majored in search, but you're still doing, you know, online marketing. That's your main type of thing. The other thing that I've talked about in the past is the idea of whether or not perhaps you're a metrics marketer. And that's the idea that you measure everything. Where's the traffic coming from, whether it's organic, contextual, paid search, social media, whatever, and how's it performing? And in fact, what I think is happening over time is that more and more people who grew up in search and then started taking on other kinds of online activities and understanding that you can measure all this stuff are now moving into higher positions where they're then going to demand this same type of thing from offline media. So if you do get in charge of some television campaign, you're not going to be wanting to think, well, I don't know if it's working or not. It's going to be like, well, I got these reports on my paid search campaign, so I better well get something similar off the television, or I'm not going to put as much money into it. So it may be you're an online marketer with a search emphasis. It may be that you're a metrics marketer. That may be some of the rebranding that needs to happen. But then there's also an issue of SEO itself, the unpaid type of thing, that probably is in need of rebranding. I don't know if it'll change or not. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So that you need to understand that you're doing more, and that SEM, if people are thinking that all you do is SEO, work with the title tags and stuff like that, you may need to explain to them actually you're a search marketer and you do a lot more than that. But SEO itself might need some rebranding. And this is just a continuing example of things that we go through. This was earlier this year. We had John Dvorak. You know, I mean, he's been covering technology since apparently 1887. Back when they, you know, did search engines using steam. No, I mean, he's been covering technology for years and years and years, and then yet you get this utter nonsense that comes out of his mouth, and it's a technology journalist from a major print publication that still hasn't died yet. Although, if he keeps saying stuff like this, maybe he'll help them along. So, you know, I think you could just see him at his keyboard going, oh, I know, I'll call it snake oil, because that's really original, except that, you know, Jason Calacanis called it snake oil in 2007. And from 2005, we had Mary Hodder, who was a prominent blogger, who was talking about, she was at a thing that Microsoft did where they had search engine optimization people and bloggers together. And she was like, hey, it's the criminals in with the FBI. She didn't realize that the SEO people thought she was the criminal and they were the FBI. I don't know. Or Seth Godin, who is this revered online marketer that in 2009 is talking about SEO as a purported science. It's like, dude, no, it's not purported science. SEO can definitely help many websites gain a lot of free traffic from search engines where there are people telling you exactly what they want. So if you think that's purported, you need to write a different book. I mean, it's insane, and it goes on. So here we have Jeremy Shoemoney, Shoemaker in 2008. Here's somebody who's inside the industry who's frustrated. You know, he's getting people out of the blue telling him, oh, if you just change this or you change that. And he's like, you know, oh, I can't stand it. Or American Express from their open forum last year, you know, don't waste money, because if you do this SEO stuff, Google will ban you. Despite the fact that, you know, Google's help pages, they say things like SEO is a useful thing and you should find good firms if you want to work with them and this can help you. Oh, and by the way, we didn't tell you in the small print the minute you do it, we'll blacklist you. So, you know, one of the things I was pondering is whether or not we should have an SEO name change. Part of me doesn't want to change the name, you know, that thinks that perhaps it should be fought back against and that we should explain and help people understand that there's a lot of good to SEO. In 2005, I did a long article, and the slides will be available to you later because I know you can't read those little URLs, so don't try right now. But I suggested maybe we could call it content SEO, the idea that you're working with content on a web page. Because when I started doing this and I first started looking at how search engines operated, the first time I saw a doorway page, I didn't understand it. It had never occurred to me that somebody who didn't have a site that was built with good, solid content that had a purpose to exist would instead just create, and was at the time, nonsensical pages just designed to get a top ranking and then make you jump over to another page. It really confused me, and it was a different kind of thing that I didn't think of as SEO myself. You know, but other people did. And in fact, at the time, the search engines even didn't know what to do with it. I remember talking with InfoSeek, and they were like going, oh yeah, I guess that's okay. You know, they changed their mind later on, but they weren't certain. A term that's been used more and more, I think, over the past year, maybe 2 years or so, was technical SEO. I went out to try to figure out who was saying it. I saw that John Andrews had done it. I'd seen Vanessa Fox had done it. I think Bruce Clay had done it at one point. And I think when I talked about this at West, somebody told me that Greg Bozer had started saying that term. So I don't know. We can get them all into a ring, and they can duke it out if they want. But maybe that's a term that needs to be popularized and used more and more, the idea that there are these things, these technical things you do with the on-page content that improve your search architecture that's helpful. So maybe that will help. Maybe, you know, if we do that, then in 2010, John Dvorak will say, hey, this technical SEO, that's good. And the spam stuff, whatever, you know, I don't like that, but this other stuff is good. I kind of doubt it, but, you know, we can be hopeful. And in terms of SEO, there still seems to be huge demand anecdotally. I mean, despite, you know, the economy tanking in every way, shape, and form, it seems like. You know, people still, I mean, I still get inundated with people saying, do you know anybody who can help me with SEO? So one of the other things I wanted to stress was this don't be a crap hat type of thing. So there has been this long debate for years about, oh, it's a black hat tactic because Google says you can't do this, but you're still doing it. No, it's a white hat tactic. Oh, well, you're white hat, but you manipulate anyway, so it's all manipulation. So, and I'm kind of like wanting to say, for the time being, one of the things I'd like to see is, I don't care about the black hat, white hat thing. I don't care whether it's oh, you're doing the Google guideline or not doing the Google guideline, getting that kind of whole rivalry up and going. I'd just like to talk a little bit about the idea that one of the things I think hurts the SEO industry or the search marketing industry overall is the crap. And that maybe if we focus on saying we don't want to see more crap stuff happening, I don't care whether you think it's, you know, forget all the other hats. If we just don't see less crap going on, then maybe that might be more helpful. Apparently none of you in the back of the room have heard any of this, I assume. But I see the slides. And when I'm talking about crap, I'm talking about the off-topic link drop. You know, somebody comes along to your blog and says, interesting content, Cialis, hyphen, or whatever. The automated links that go on. Anybody who runs a WordPress blog will see this if you ever actually go into your spam filter. And you're just tons and tons of stuff that's being thrown up there on an automated basis, just because they're the various tools that'll make it happen. Or when I do a search and I'm actually trying to find something local and I end up on a page that has every city name in the entire United States along with every possible product like delivers chicken